Hello everyone, my name is Alex. I'm one of the developers of Prism, a puzzle game that was worked on during Global Game Jam, a 48-hour game jam that occurs kind of across the world. It's pretty cool. And this is a little developer's commentary of kind of how the development process went, at least from my perspective, and how that went. Sort of more of a diary if anything, but it's pretty cool. Before I play though, I will be playing the entire game, so spoilers ahead. If you do want to play it though, please play it on itch.io first, and then watch this video if you're curious about some stories about development. It is just me here, so I don't have any of the other team members to for live commentary, but at least you got me. Okay, so we had Shayla, who did some of the models for the environment. Her credit is represented at the top cube there, for the vegetation. And we had Joel, who did the main character model and animations and designed some levels. Same with Shayla. Shayla designed some levels as well. And he's represented here because it's the main character right there. And Kale's represented, or sorry, this is Drew, who did the audio and the UI, and his cube has sound playing through it. And I'm Alex. I'm the programmer, and I did the shaders for this, so I guess technically I'm like a technical artist, which is like pretty cool. I'm represented through this cube here that has a little plushie in it because I modeled that plushie like last year, and I was like, oh, let's put it in as a test, and we're testing my my cell shader of textures. And we have Jonathan, who is a programmer. He is represented by the Switch because he made the puzzle mechanics and other various core systems that hold this project together. And Kale is represented by the welcome credits thing, the little tooltip, because he made the tooltip system, he made the player system, I'm pretty sure he made the camera system as well, and some other UI scripting as well. But we all kind of did a lot. And I'll get into what I programmed later when it's introduced. But it has to do with shaders and colors, which is pretty neat. So, yeah, again, I'm going to be playing this game in its entirety. If you want to play it, check it out on itch.io. For now, though, let's get started. So it's a puzzle game, and it's pretty cool. We can walk around, we can rotate the camera around by dragging, and we can interact with buttons. And they will interact with puzzle elements. So this would have been a culmination of Jonathan and Kale's work, the tooltip being Kale, the puzzle elements connecting together and interacting in certain ways through Jonathan's scripting. And they did a phenomenal job. So I did the shader, which is the only shader that's really shown right now, is the cell shader. I guess the particles aren't really, they're just Unity default particles. But you can tell there's still some problems with it, but for 48 hours, I'd say it's pretty good. Yeah, so the designer is also intended for the camera system, which Kale made, to be restrictive in a way. But it's kind of cool when it comes to like, oh, you gotta angle your camera for certain doorways to see your character and whatnot. And I'm pretty sure for this puzzle is to teach the player, hey, there's a wire connecting here, but when you hit these, they don't do anything. Which I thought was pretty good. I think it could have been communicated a little bit better by having these have like no effects, showing that they don't do anything, or maybe they'd be grayed out. But I think otherwise, it's executed pretty well. Okay, we can hit buttons. So I know you might be wondering if you've, looked at other games in this Global Game Jam submission this year. The theme is mask, so where does mask come in other than our guy wearing a little cloth over his head, or a drape or whatever? And we'll get into that soon. It has to do with color masks, because I saw a lot of Instagram posts where people would draw their art in red and blue pencils, right? And they would put a red filter, and that would completely block out the red drawing, showing only the blue drawing. And, same with the blue filter as well. So it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. Why don't we do color masks? And that gets introduced soon here. But the tutorial is just meant to teach you how puzzle mechanics work. And here's a little Easter egg, for people who wander around here. It's a little joke on who keeps doing all these buttons around. If you saw on the credit screen earlier, there's a strange text, which, shout out to anyone who can decrypt it, because it is an actual language that translates to English, which is fun. But we were gonna have like a lot of like paintings and environment textures showing, you know, random messages that either expanded the lore of this game or whatnot. But you know, 48 game jam, you can hope to do a lot, but sometimes you gotta cut things out. But yeah, going through it all though, it's executed pretty well. I'm pretty sure we can go back. No, we can't. All right. The puzzle. So, shout out Drew for making the music, and had to leave for work a couple times during the game jam, and still giving us a plethora of sound effects and whatnot. Did a great job. It's real good. We actually submitted this like almost 10 minutes before the deadline. It's the final build at least, right? We've had builds submitted before then. Usually I'm talking about the camera angles, right? You gotta see there, and then you hit it, and then you're like, oh, okay. Walk over here, and whatnot. And it's pretty cool because Kale had to figure out. He's asking me when we were taking a little break, like I got to figure out how to do the or like, you know, when the camera's facing this way, this is forward. When you press W, it'll actually move forward relative to the camera. I was like, okay, I've done this before because I made some isometric games, and I gave him some advice, and I have a feeling he probably did take it, but he probably also researched on his own and found a much better solution, because probably what I recommended to him wasn't really smart. Yeah, we can go on our next island here, and we can collect the shard, or go to the next island, I guess, which is the hub world. The hub world includes a very bright scene of all the different colors, and you may notice we can't actually see these colors, so because they're just so goddamn bright. But we can quit out here, and this is a cool thing. We forgot to implement it because I think one of the diversifiers is having a randomly generated color palette, and we just forgot to implement the randomly part. But you can change the color palette, which is one of the things I've made, by the way, was connecting a script to shaders to assign IDs to certain colors and whatnot. It sounds really technical, but to be honest, you know, it wasn't that crazy. But it was still cool because it was my first time ever interacting with global like shader values or whatever keywords, right? Through scripts. So it's pretty interesting. And we can go to level 1 here. Ooh, a play on Awake, of course. So we have our first color masking mechanic. You may have noticed the world is pretty black and white, and this is intentional because now we can go here and press 1 to change perspective with a colorly font. What does that mean? We hit 1. Boom. And here we go. So this is where kind of I focused mainly programming-wise, was making these color-changing mechanics. So we can change the active color mask, and that makes it so that certain colored objects, and Jonathan also helped out too with this as well at the start. He laid out the foundation for me to work further. When a color is active, it changes the tint. It actually lerps, which is pretty cool. Changes the tint of the light and all of the background colors, or background like every material here changes to a bluish tint, which is pretty neat. If they use the cell shader, of course. If they don't, then they don't. And that's a pretty fun thing, because it just makes the world blue. Yeah, and then we can hit this switch here that was blocked otherwise. Walk to this little bridge, and there we go. And we're like, oh, we can't hit this. Well, if we go back to no color mask, there we go. We did it. And then we can go teleport over here. So this level was designed by Joel, which is pretty cool. I should mention, yeah, he made the character, and he did make some animations for it, but we couldn't get them imported, like, between Maya to Unity. It was kind of weird. We couldn't really figure it out, and I should say that was Joel's, I believe, first game jam, so he did excellent work making the character and whatnot, because that's a centerpiece of the game. I told him, like, hey, don't worry if it isn't a lot of work, it's still a lot. And he designed this level, right? So it's pretty good. But last night as of recording, I told him, you know, animations don't work, that's fine. I can make I can make animations in the Unity editor, so you can blame me for these animations because they're a little a little goofy. Um, as you can see, kind of twitches. But you know, thank Joel for having the good animations, which we unfortunately aren't graced to see. Here we go, and this is another one where like, oh, we can't get in there. What's over here? And then you can, oh, there's the prism. The prism shader is a cool one, even though it kind of breaks half the time. But we wanted a cool color cube thing because that was one of the diversifiers was a cube, and we wanted to have like a cool like prism thing because it bends light, right? So I had originally like this shader looked so terrible, and I don't, you know, I think I could always do better, but I digress. I spent like about 45 minutes, like an hour working on it because I was like, oh, it gotta look good. I gotta like bend light and stuff and like bend it. When you're really close to it, it doesn't really bend, but we can see the chromatic aberration I kind of made. And when you're like from afar, like from the credit scene, it looks really good. But yeah, this is not the best example of it. But yeah, you're like, oh, there's the pressure plate here. But the team really liked the prism shader, and I was so happy. So, what now? We can hit this, and like, oh, you've fallen. Hold E. You get teleported down to this little island. Go back. Interesting. And we're like, huh, what? I can't do anything here. There's no buttons. I can go back, but there's nothing back here. Things change. Can't. You know. You've fallen. Hold E. Yeah. But you know, if you disable it, you're like, oh, that switch. It's activated. It exists. So now it's powering the door closing, or door opening, right? How interesting. How peculiar. You know. So we can walk through here, and we can go here and hit a switch. I really like the environment areas that the designers made. They look really good. That really tied the aesthetic together, and they praised me for the shader, saying that it also helped out a lot because they didn't really have to texture things and it still fit in. And I was like, ah, oh, thank you very much. I mean, you know, I've only recently started to delve into shaders, so it's a really fun thing. Door opens from far away. Oh, I wonder where. I wonder if I talk too long and now the music isn't gonna play. That'd be funny if it doesn't loop. Can't. And there we go. We can head over here to Prism, and next level. And we get back to this hub world, which again looks crazy. I think one of the reasons why this shader flips out at this is there's just not enough vertices and the normals get warped, and that just like messes up the highlights and the shading a little bit. But you know, clearly it's the efforts of a bad shader artist. You know, me. All right, level 2, which is designed by me. And Drew. Drew gave me the initial like, here's what you should do, right? And I was like, all right, I got this. So yeah, when you have a pretty basic idea, I was like, oh, I can't get there here. So then you press 1, and you're like, oh, yes, cool. And then you're like, oh, but I can't walk through here. Why can't I walk through here? How interesting. And you come over to this little statue. I tried to angle it so that it would be like glowing in the light, but either I changed the direction or it just didn't work out like that, right? You come over here to the statue and it says, oh, press 2 to see the world in a new way. You see, if only I added the text wiggle and color stuff, then, you know, maybe this would be a little more obvious to the player, but I digress, and then boom. You can shift the game to be green. And finally get sent here. Before I go to the next island, I want people to notice that it's the plushie. It's just encased in stone now. And yeah. Next island, which doesn't have any of the sound because I don't think I rigged it up correctly. I made this level just a few hours before submission, and I was rushing, as you could tell by things just being placed around and floating stuff and whatnot. So you can blame me for this, and also if this abhorrent camera angle that we have. But skill issue on my part. And this is all really good. Yeah, this is pretty simple. You just switch color, fall, switch color, fall, switch color, fall, switch color, fall, and land down there, and walk towards the exit, which is the only one that says end, which really means the last level. And this level is designed by Shayla again. Level 3, which introduces not 1, not 2, but 3 colors now, which is pretty good. And yeah, a much more better camera angle. Holy crap, I wish I did something like this. Look at this camera action. Anyways, and this one's pretty relatively, they're just teaching you, hey, you can switch from 1 to, ooh, close one there, 3, and there you go. And yeah, that's it. That's all the puzzles we have implemented so far. We intended to do 6, as per 6 sides of the shards. So by the way, this is meant to be Prism, and the idea is you're collecting these shards to refract light and see, right? The idea was that we'd have little shards orbiting this guy's head, and when he selected one of them, it would go in front of his eyes as if he's seeing this color. By the way, his name is Little Guy, and some fun facts for us here. When Joel imported him to Unity, he turned out to be the size of like a Goliath, just absolutely massive. But his name was Little Guy, and in the files his name is Little Guy, and he is a little guy. So yeah, and then there we go. That's the end of the game, and we had a lot of fun making this for Global Game Jam, especially this credit scene. We're like, oh, it's the best. Well, I mean, I don't know if we said it's the best scene, but we said it's probably the most laggiest scene because there's so many of the fake volumetrics and scene color calls going on, but that's besides the point. We all did a lot, and I'm really proud of us as a team because this is my second game jam, and my first one went pretty good, and this one just went really good. Like out of all the game jams I've done, which is only 2 again, this one's been really good, and I'm pretty sure everyone else has said this is probably our best game jam we've done. Just not really, I mean, collectively as a team for sure, but like individually, per person, this is probably the best game jam that they've done individually. But yeah, I really want to, give a shout out to the team because they did a whole lot of work. I kind of just messed with shaders and did some programming and then broke the project at the end because I didn't know how things worked. But we needed a level 2, and yeah, a lot of scenarios, happen. A game jam antics, of course, right? And we had a lot of fun making this. So there's nothing really too much to answer. Well, I can't really think of any other fun facts other than what I've said in this whole video. But if you have any questions, please leave a comment down below, or better yet, join the Discord. And some of the developers are in there, so you could ask them personally, or shoot me a message and maybe I can ask a question. But for the most part, though, we've had a lot of fun with this. Go to the main menu. Definitely, if you've want to give it a play for some reason, now that you've seen how the game works and the ending, go ahead, itch.io. You can play it in the browser. But if you want a better experience that has all the shaders working, download it. But yeah, thank the team. Oh. Alright, just real quick, I would like to again thank the team for their efforts and their skills put into this because it was a lot of work. It took a lot out of us to make a game in 48 hours. So, thank you, Shayla. Thank you, Joel. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Kale. And thank you, Jonathan, for sticking through to the end.